This is an interview with my friend and former coworker, Jeremy. He is a software developer, and I wanted to hear his feedback firsthand on how he thinks AI is going to impact his fields and the world in general.
Hey, yeah, I do software every day as a living. I program and help other programmers and lead teams.
The first question I have is, as someone who's been in tech for a while and currently you're a principal software engineer, what are your general thoughts on AI? Do you find it exciting, concerning, or somewhere in between?
It's definitely exciting and cool. It's super surprising. There have been times where like I've been stuck on something and I've been like, well, I'm really kind of confused. Like, hey, like, how do you think I should do? Somebody says, just ask ChatGPT. I'm like, I wouldn't know that. And then I ask it and it like, oh yeah, totally like did kind of help like another person would. But yeah, I think it is really cool. It's exciting, but it's also, I think there's a lot of pressure to replace people in the workforce and replace things and make everything go faster and faster. But overall, I think like long term, it's going to be positive.
Specific to that, are there any AI tools or developments that have particularly impressed you or worried you recently?
So for a long time, GitHub Copilot has been super helpful. ChatGPT is helpful. DeepSeek coming out, I think, is interesting because everyone assumed that like only Microsoft and then maybe Google and maybe Facebook would be able to like compete in the space at all. And the fact that it won't just be for US companies, especially controlling like what AI can do for you and like what information is available. It's the claims about whether it runs cheaper and is way better or anything is like up for debate. But it is like interesting to have another player.
I did hear you mention about how US tech companies, namely, are starting to get more involved in like purchasing or directly influencing AI. And since these tend to be the biggest or largest areas of hire for software engineers, how do you see AI influencing that as a profession? And then do you think that AI is going to make developers' jobs easier, harder, or just different?
I mean, I think it definitely makes the jobs easier. And I think that that's part of a problem is that right now, in particular, we're seeing like a big squeeze of employees at every level, pretty much. There's layoffs everywhere. Everyone's trying to get more from less. Everyone just says, how can I use AI to cut some jobs? Some managers that are not very popular and be antagonistic about it, saying, well, I could do this in ChatGPT. Why can't you do it? That doesn't seem very hard. I could do it. And whether or not they actually could do it, they just think like we have this magical tool that can do everything. I want everything and I want it now. So I think it's like, but I think it does help developers. It can make things more frustrating, and I think in the short term, it is like definitely making it very difficult for new developers because people are saying, well, I only want like a senior developer who can leverage like these tools and get a lot done quicker. But I think in the long term, once it gets good enough to the point where, it's easier to maybe start and create something from scratch and like start your own software or start your own company if you have the guidance and tools to get set up by yourself. Because right now it's like, well, I have an idea, I want to work on something, but it's going to take me like 2 years, right? You start working and somebody says, that's a nifty idea. I'll either buy it from you or we'll do it faster with way more money and squash you. But if you are able to build it a lot faster with one person, I think that'll allow for more competition in the space. So I think there will be a shift in to everyone wanting to work for like a big company, being able to write and innovate by yourself, maybe.
I think it's a fair assessment of that, giving people the ability, if they have like the background knowledge, to scale faster and do things on their own.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that too because it's like the big difference between someone with a lot of experience in a field and a new person is just even knowing what to search.
Yes.
So traditionally, it's like, well, I don't even know what to search. But now you could say, ChatGPT, what should I search? How do I get started? What do I do? Because all the words and skills that you don't know, it'll suggest to you that you can go look up and figure out. So, or maybe you'll learn it from it telling it to you. Maybe you don't know what word to search. When you're asking about it, it would know what to point you in the right direction. I think there will be points where you'll be able to get started with just AI.
So we talked about like scaling in different fields and somebody starting up their own company. We worked with some people who started up their own technology company and related to the healthcare sector. And you work at a company that's in the technology space for the healthcare sector. So how do you specifically see AI playing a bigger role in that field?
Yeah, we see a lot of it. There's a lot of, especially in healthcare, there's a lot of menial labor of people who just have to check forms, make sure things are cross all the I's, dot all the T's. It's very hard to replace that because everything is so legally tied up. But by putting it into like an AI or some sort of algorithm that will process it for you and then just have people check it over or put it into like a much more digestible format, you can have less people doing the same amount of work. And like AWS, right, and Amazon Web Services, like various onboarding things about like vaccinations and background checks, you can outsource that all to a company that's going to take all the information, look it up, and then do it all for you and tell you whether or not it's approved. It's a combination of both AI and startups. So these AI companies are doing all the work and they're doing it with less people. And then they're also taking on like the legal onus. You're consolidating like redundant labor forces and legal resources. So it's kind of like an efficiency combination in that space.
Well, speaking about the legal ramifications or legal aspects of it, since you did touch upon this, how is that going to be compliant with like current AI that's available, or how do you think that would be handled specifically for the healthcare tech space?
So I think there's like a lot of people under the hood just use a lot of the existing major ones. I think individually people are actually hiring people who are in AI and creating other engines. So I mean, ChatGPT, while helpful in a lot of things, is just more of a language model. You know, it's trying to act like a person. It's trying to be like an AI. Whereas we want something that's going to act agnostically and just analyze and look at things and figure out, is this probably right? Is there an error here? So I think it's just, tailoring engines.
So since you touched upon this slightly, are you personally using AI in your work right now? If so, how? And if not, is there a reason why you haven't integrated it into your workflow?
Yeah. I use Copilot. I use ChatGPT. We're constantly trying to reduce the cost of having new people come in. So like, I'm integrating a lot of services that are doing it, amalgamating information and looking at how to train their models and look at things. So we don't have to have people do it on our end. It's cheaper to have one contract with a company than multiple employees. And employees are also more mistake prone. As back to that legal thing. So yeah. I like problem solving. Anything that makes it easier to solve those problems is like, a good tool to have.
All right. So this is one of my last questions. And you've kind of touched upon this throughout our entire conversation where we're discussing whether or not AI is replacing people's jobs.
Mhm.
So do you think AI is more of a tool in your fields or a threat? And then what advice would you give to someone who's worried about AI replacing their job?
Yeah, I think at present it's a tool. Let's say 5 years. I can't guarantee, but I think it will start becoming more of a threat because I don't think it actually replaces people. I think right now they just want it to replace people. So companies are just trying their best to save money. I don't think it can ever fully replace people because just the principle of basically you can tell it what to do and it can know a lot of what to do. But by the time you've given it every possible directive to tell it exactly what to do, you generally could have done it yourself. So I think like it helps with a lot of things. It can make things faster. But for things that are very specific and things where you need it to be exactly a certain way, you still need to make sure that it winds up that way. I mean, theoretically, I guess there's a point where it knows what way you would want it better than you from less prompts. But nevertheless, I mean, like if you give it not enough information, it's always extrapolating.
Yes.
And whenever it's extrapolating, there's room for error. So it's kind of, it could be most likely to be right, but you can't trust it 100%. Because just like, it can make mistakes and people can also make mistakes. The two of them combined, less likely, right? So,
Yes. Well, what advice specifically would you give to somebody who's worried about AI replacing their job?
right. I think I think it goes with a lot of technological innovations or things that happen in industries. If you resist, you're it's it's too bad. You have to adapt it, work with it, keep up with everything. It's kind of like any other tool that comes out that people are leveraging, right? New programming languages come out, new software comes out, new, I don't know, practices and paradigms in coding. You have to keep up with everything. If you're worried about it, you have to keep up with it, use it, and learn how to make it work for you and adapt to the jobs that are out there. Or go back to school and learn AI because those jobs are, those jobs are, they're looking for people for those. It's very difficult to do, but there's a lot of jobs, and learning how to learning machine learning and AI are ways that you can make sure you're on the other side of that curve.
Nice. So pretty much just overall, just keep practicing and learning new skills at all times in
That's
order to
the, I
avoid
mean, that's just,
replacement.
that's the world that's the information world we live in. I think that applies to almost every career. You always have to, when you're a doctor, you're learning new medical techniques. You're always going to conferences and learning new things as new things develop and, science and advances and people figure things out and lawyers, there's new laws. Every profession, you have to be learning it on your toes. And if you want to stay competitive, it's work.
Yes. All right. Any last thoughts, ideas, even rants about AI in its current state?
ChatGPT has like just deeper knowledge than like most people will ever have. So it's interesting just to be able to bounce something off of a tool and kind of ask it just in normal language. And then also, when it does understand you get it wrong, you can just keep and say, nudge it, well, can you try it with this again? Actually, I forgot. I meant to say this. Can you try that again? Try that again. And it's like, yeah, here we go. Until eventually you can shape it to what, the answer that you're looking for, or get the answer that you need. So it is just cool to, not have to necessarily bug people at work.
So I've used it in the same type of way, like finding errors or solutions, or even related instances that you may not be able to see firsthand as a person. Since you're so focused on seeing the solution from that point of view, AI helps you look for things that you weren't even paying attention to. So I think
Yeah.
that's a cool feature about it too.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy. Well, I appreciate you spending your time here and talking about AI, especially how it relates to someone who is a software engineer, which is one of the jobs that people always say is going to be replaced by AI,
Hmm.
which is why I asked you,
Yeah.
developers and coders.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks.